All right, so let's jump into December wine. Listeners are always wondering what's happening out there this time of year. And we've got this great article from Wine Naps called What Happens in December. So, yeah, let's get into it.
Sounds good to me.
I always thought that like certain wines were made in December, like they had a special, holiday batch or something. But this article is saying it's not that simple, is it?
No, not really. It's more about where the wines are in their process at this point. December finds them in different places, Some are post-harvest in the Northern Hemisphere, and others are in peak season down south.
Okay, so less about making the wine and more about what stage they're at. So in the Northern Hemisphere, harvest is done, grapes are in, and what happens next?
Well, December is kind of like a refinement period in the north. Winemakers are doing things like racking, basically transferring the wine between containers to get rid of sediment. It's all about clarifying the wine at this stage.
So like giving it a spa treatment.
Exactly. Then there's malolactic fermentation. This is a natural process. It softens the acidity of the wine. You ever notice how a young red wine can have that sharp bite? Yeah, this is what helps smooth that out. Especially in reds, it makes the taste much more rounded and approachable, that buttery texture you get in a Chardonnay. Yeah, that's usually thanks to malolactic fermentation happening around this time.
Wow, I never knew that. So those little microbes are working hard to make the wine better.
Right.
What else is going on up north for these winemakers?
Well, blending is another big one that happens in December. Winemakers become artists at this point. They're combining different batches, to create the flavor profile they want. Complexity, balance, that unique personality of their wine. It's like composing a symphony of flavors.
That's a great way to put it. Not just making wine, but composing it. Yeah, but we can't forget about what's happening in the Southern Hemisphere. Totally different story down there, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. While the north is hunkering down, the south is in full swing. Vineyards are soaking up the sun. Grapes are plumping up on the vines. It's really the peak of growing season down there.
Sounds idyllic. I'm guessing it's not all sunshine and roses for the winemakers, though.
Yeah, you're right about that. Actually, it's a really demanding time for them. They're constantly monitoring the grapes, checking sugar levels and acidity. All super important because it directly impacts the flavor of the final product. Like grape whisperers, making sure everything is perfect.
Wow. So much work happening in both hemispheres. The north is refining, the south is nurturing. December plays such an important role in both.
For sure. Really shows how interconnected the wine world is. While we're enjoying the finished product, a whole other cycle is in motion somewhere else.
And speaking of enjoying that finished product, while those grapes are growing in the Southern Hemisphere sun, what are we drinking up here in the north? What are those December delights we should be looking for?
Yeah, those wines that really capture the essence of December. The perfect bottles for the season, all those mood and flavors.
Exactly. Like certain wines just feel right at certain times of year. Yep. So what are we looking for?
Okay, so for those cozy nights by the fire, can't go wrong with a Cabernet Sauvignon. Full body, rich black currant notes, hints of cedar and vanilla. It's like a warm hug in a glass. And it goes great with all those hearty winter meals, like a roast or a stew.
Cabernet by the fire.
Yeah.
Definitely going on the list. What about something for a holiday party? A little more festive.
For celebration. I go with the Zinfandel. You get that vibrant fruit character. Blackberry and plum, and usually a touch of spice. Just screams holidays. Some Zinfandels even have notes of cinnamon and clove, almost like mulled wine, a real crowd pleaser.
Ooh, yeah. I love that. Zinfandel it is. Spice up the holidays. But no celebration is complete without some bubbles. What about some sparkling recommendations?
Well, for a special occasion, you really can't beat champagne. That crisp acidity, those complex aromas, super elegant, the ultimate celebratory drink, whether you're toasting with friends or ringing in the new year. And don't forget about sparkling wines from other regions. Some great options out there. Italy and Spain, just as delicious and festive.
Okay, I'm taking notes. Cabernet, Zinfandel, champagne. We've got cozy nights covered, parties covered. What about something sweet for after dinner?
For dessert, I'd recommend a nice port. Velvety smooth, concentrated fruit flavors. Often you'll get notes of dried figs and chocolate. Goes perfectly with a cheese board. Or a decadent chocolate dessert. And the best part is, a bottle of port can last for weeks once you open it. So you can enjoy it all season long.
Dangerous information. I might never leave the house. This December wine list is getting out of control. But before we move on, I have to ask about ice wine and late harvest wines. The article mentioned them. They seem so unique.
They really are. Those winemakers are true artists working with nature, especially in those chilly December conditions, to create something really special.
Okay, let's start with ice wine. Frozen grapes. Sounds intense. What's going on there?
Picture a frosty vineyard, grapes hanging on the vine, covered in ice crystals. It's beautiful. And those frozen grapes are the key to ice wine, or ice wine as they call it in Germany. The water inside the grape freezes, but the sugars and other compounds don't.
So it's like nature's way of concentrating the sweetness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When they press those frozen grapes, they get this tiny amount of super concentrated juice, and that makes a wine that's intensely sweet, lusciously rich, bursting with complex aromas, a real treat, often enjoyed in small sips, because it's so concentrated.
Wow, sounds luxurious. What about late harvest wines? How are those different?
Late harvest wines are made from grapes that stay on the vine longer, often well into December, so they develop higher sugar levels, like letting the grapes sunbathe, soak up extra sweetness.
So both ice wine and late harvest are sweeter, but they get there in different ways. Ice wine is all about freezing and concentrating. Late harvest is about extra time on the vine. Amazing how December weather plays such an important role.
Absolutely. They really show the diversity of the wine world, all the possibilities that each season brings.
I'm getting inspired to plan a December wine adventure. Are there any regions that are known for these wines? Places we should add to our travel bucket list. So many wines, so little time. But really though, where should we be looking if we want to experience these December wines firsthand?
Well, for ice wine, you gotta head to those colder climates where the grapes can freeze right on the vine. Canada is world-renowned for its ice wine, especially the Niagara Peninsula.
Makes sense. Canada and ice just go together. What about other ice wine regions?
Germany and Austria are big ones too. Long traditions there, real masters of ice wine. Imagine walking through a Christmas market, sipping on a glass of German ice wine. Doesn't get much more festive than that.
Okay, that's going on the bucket list for sure.
Yeah.
And what about late harvest wines? Where do those come from?
Those are a bit more versatile. You find them in places with longer growing seasons. Alsace in France is famous for its late harvest Gewürztraminer. It's got those amazing floral aromas and spicy notes. Really unique wine. And Alsace in December with the Christmas markets is just magical.
Alsace it is. Any other late harvest hotspots?
Oh yeah, definitely. California makes some fantastic late harvest wines too, especially Sauvignon Blanc and Riesling. Shows off California's diversity. Those winemakers really know how to work with the warm weather to create something special.
This deep dive has been amazing. I learned so much about December wine. Had no idea how much goes into it. All those processes, the unique wines, the weather.
It's pretty remarkable. December really shows you how interconnected the wine world is, how dedicated those winemakers are.
Yeah, and it's not just about the processes and the regions. December brings a certain feeling to the wine experience, you know? That cozy ambiance, the gatherings, the holidays. It all adds something special to every sip.
You got it. Savoring the moment, appreciating the journey from grape to glass, sharing those special moments with the people you care about.
And on that note, I have a question for you, dear listener. If you were a winemaker, what part of December winemaking would you be most interested in? Would it be the challenge of making ice wine? Or maybe monitoring the grapes during peak growing season down south? Or maybe the artistry of blending and aging wines in a quiet cellar up north?
That's a great question to think about. Each part of the process is special in its own way, requires a deep understanding of nature and how it works.
No matter what you're drawn to, it's clear that December is a crucial time in the wine world. A time of transformation, anticipation, and celebration.
Absolutely. And remember, there's always something new to discover in the world of wine. New regions, new tastes, new experiences. So keep learning, keep experimenting, and keep enjoying.
Cheers to that. And until next time, keep those glasses full and those taste buds curious